Hello, everyone. This is Natalie Armstrong-Motin with the Marketing Resolution YouTube channel. Thanks very much for watching. I have with me as a guest today Mr. Chuck Wills from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Hello, how are you, Chuck?
I am fantastic, Natalie. Thank you.
You're sure welcome. So, Chuck, I really like your particular view of dispute resolution. I know that you're an attorney and a business mediator, but the idea that you use in your practice, thinking about the idea that our biggest adversary in any dispute is our own mind, is a fascinating concept to me. Can you tell me a little bit more about your practice and how we relieve ourselves from being our own worst enemy?
I would love to, Natalie. Thank you for asking. Yeah, the fundamental premise is that, as you've stated, the biggest adversary that we face in trying to resolve a dispute is, in fact, our own brain. And the question that I've always found interesting, something that has followed me all through my life, is the question why. Why do people make the decisions? Why do they make the business decisions that they make, and what process of thinking is underlying that? Essentially, at the end of the day, what we're talking about is people's their personal courage and confidence, and their personal courage and confidence indicates their potential, their decision-making potential. This is on a personal level, not corporate authority or anything like that. Their ability personally to be flexible and change the way they see things and change the way they think about them. And so, obviously, when we've got a dispute and people are entrenched in disparate positions, the critical factor that we're looking for that's going to be necessary to try to resolve the dispute, to help the people come to a voluntary resolution that meets both of their needs is going to be the ability of the two individuals or the group of individuals that are participating to be able to think laterally, to view the problem in a different way. So while I understand very well the mediation process, and I understand that everybody has a different problem, and the problems oftentimes are technically very complex, or they could be simple problems which have a relationship base to them. But at the end of the day, my main focus is trying to understand the why and what is driving people to do what they do. What are they afraid of, and what are they passionate about? What are they afraid of so that they can't move forward to the resolution? What are they passionate about that they can't move back to the resolution, if you want to look at it that way? In terms of analyzing the decision-making potential of the individuals that are participating in the mediation, there oftentimes can be external influences. So you could have somebody who has a very strong decision-making potential, the ability to change the way they view a problem, the way they address the problem, to be creative in the circumstance. But they may be hampered externally because of corporate obligations that will not allow them to go outside of this boundary or go outside of that boundary. The other circumstance where you run up against this is with individuals, and often this is more relationship-based issues where people have taken advice from their friends, potentially a legal advisor or an accountant, or a husband or a wife. And because of that advice, they feel hampered in making a change, in doing something that goes against that advice. Inevitably, at the beginning of these issues, and when people are getting advice, it's everybody views it on a very transactional basis. I've got to get more. You've got to get more. You can't let that guy beat you. financially or negotiation or whatever it is. And so when it gets to the point of where there's a need to move from positions to interests, and those people are stuck with that advice from their friends and their relatives and their trusted advisors, it oftentimes can be very, very difficult for those people to be persuaded to move on and be creative and constructive about coming up with a resolution. And that's really where my role comes in, because at the end of the day, my job is to question and challenge and persuade the individual participants in terms of their views, challenge them to be more flexible in the way they view the problem, and to persuade them that they're not making a mistake, they're not letting their company down, they're not letting their friends down. In fact, they're doing something that is very constructive and positive, and they should feel good about it, and they should feel confident and comfortable and courageous about explaining that decision to those people or to their company in terms of recommending a resolution to move forward.
I love the way you approach the people in the room. It's an old cliche that gets said time and time again from my parents all throughout my childhood and adulthood, that you can be as hard as you want on the issues as long as you're gentle with the people. And it sounds like that's your approach as well, that there's a human aspect to these disputes that can very often be more dominant in the hearing room than the actual issue at hand.
Yeah, Natalie, you see this with people who are who obviously have lots of courage and lots of confidence. One name that comes to mind is Richard Branson, and everybody from some time or another sees something that Richard Branson has done, and Richard does things which in a normal business setting, in a normal business environment, people would think we're crazy. But really, because of his courage, because of his confidence, and because he understands that doing this in this circumstance is the right thing to do in order to advance this person's interests, in order to advance my corporate interests, or just because it's the right thing to do for the community at the time, in the place. These are people who are examples of the kind of potential decision-making potential, high decision-making potential people who are able to be very flexible in literally any circumstance in terms of how they view a situation and how they just make a decision and move forward. So those are the sort of role models that I look to say, is it possible to in terms of our dispute today, to get one or other of the people to recognize the benefits, to have the courage, to have the confidence to say yes, in order to advance this situation, to do something that's not only in our better interest, but in terms of benefit the resolution of the dispute as a whole. This decision needs to be made, and I'm comfortable making that. I had a situation recently which was interesting. We're dealing with a person that didn't have that confidence or that courage for whatever reason, and that person had an advisor, and when the mediation started, it was really zero sum. Who was going to get the most, who was going to take the most off the table, and it was interesting because as the discussion went along and we explored this idea of looking at the problem from a different perspective, and trying to come up with a resolution that truly met everybody's needs in the circumstance. The advisor for this person got it and was able to shift and change the thinking about it. But the participant was stuck on the position. And it was an interesting situation because in that case, the advisor was then sort of on the other side of the table saying, no, this is actually a good thing. You should think about this way. And that was a case where personal friends and trusted advisors had sort of dug in on a position, and it was very difficult for this person to change that position without losing face. And so then there's another set of issues in the mediation that have to be addressed. How can we move this forward in a fashion that allows that person not to lose that face, or gives them the opportunity to reassess the dynamic and explain it, and hopefully get the blessing and the support to go forward with a creative solution. So it's a puzzle, but it starts and it finishes for me with the individuals that are at the table and their decision-making potential, or to put it another way, their courage and their confidence to be able to think outside the box and be creative in terms of coming up with a resolution to a difficult problem.
Well, Chuck, I mean, I love the way that you approach the issues that are in front of you and the people that are in front of you, and I know that the viewers will benefit greatly if they just connect with you. And your website is bmvan.net. It stands for Business Mediator Vancouver.net. So bmvan.net, and I will put that link to your website down below in the description bar. And I know that also you're a member of the ADRBC, and so I'll put the link to adrbc.com in the description bar down below so that people can click there and read your bio and learn more about you and hopefully connect with you, because it's a fantastic service that you offer to your consumers. I'm really pleased to call you a colleague in the industry.
Thank you, Natalie.
You are more than welcome. So listen, everybody, if you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more and continue seeing these videos. And as always, thanks to my guest, Chuck Wills, and to everybody else, be good humans.
Thanks, Natalie.